Thank goodness they have a decent TV.
Dean exclaimed as we stepped through the door. We had just arrived at the dormitory for students and workers, where, according to the plan, we spend a couple of months putting our heads to rest for the night, after gathering fruits on local farms, looking for pretty chicks, soaking up the booze. This would be done in no particular order, of course. My friend Dean and I just graduated from community college. Being young, broke, and full of life, so even thought seasonal work sounded hard and demanding, nothing could stop us from getting easy bucks and flirting with the countryside girls. As we checked the room wandering around, the Commandant who showed us around was following his mantra, seeming absolutely uninterested in our personas.
No loud music or noises whatsoever. Make sure you turn off all electrical devices when you leave the room. Oh, and gentlemen.
He made a pause sure that caught our attention, so both of us had stopped our investigation and stared back at him.
One more thing I must tell you in advance. Even though you are free to go in and out at any time of the day, as you have your own set of keys, I would definitely recommend to be back to your room before 10 o'clock in the evening. Again, it's not the law, but a strict recommendation. I have no intention of scaring you, but the crime rate went really high these days. It's better to be safe than sorry.
I tried my best not to laugh. That guy was so serious. I had the irresistible urge of spitting something out like, "Thanks, Mom." So when he finally left, we couldn't help but let out a couple of silly jokes. Slide that way. You see, the reason for this was that both of us were quite big dudes who hit the gym regularly. Besides, I was on the wrestling team in college, and Dean, he was not the guy you would want to mess with. And the town itself, as we have seen it so far, was not falling under the description. We walked through a couple of quiet streets, and not a single angry face showed up. This was a peaceful place, with several family restaurants, a tiny shopping mall, a few gas stations, and that was pretty much it. That evening, we decided to celebrate the starting of the working season. We went to the only bar in town, since the wake hour was scheduled for 5 o'clock in the morning. We went early. No surprise, the place was almost dead. Just a bartender in leather vest behind the counter and a couple of locals, sipping their after-work "Don't Tell My Wife" whiskeys. We grabbed our drinks and laid it on the counter, discussing our plan, the surroundings and all the important parts like football teams, games, and girls. I don't know if it was the flat-ish country air or the volume of alcohol, but soon enough, we were discussing our thoughts with the bartender himself. We asked where the youth usually hang out and what to do apart from drinking in the town. Somehow we switched to discussing the dormitory and its stupid rules. This guy had asked us where we were staying or something.
and then he says, "You'd better come back before 10 or else." The guy probably thinks we're yet some innocent kids who go to church on each Sunday, huh?
Dean wouldn't shut up. The bartender, whose name was Brad, apparently, or Bob, I can't recall. Anyways, that guy, finishing polishing another wine glass, put it to the rack and said,
"Well, guys, I'll speak frankly. That actually makes sense."
Both of us stared back at him. Was this tattooed cover meat machine telling us to go to bed early too? Due to what? Somebody stole a chicken here? Or...
This town has some rules, and they have them for a reason. I don't intend to scare the crap out of you, but mark my words, what I'm going to say now, it sounds somewhat lame, though you really don't want to make sure it's not true. Now, this town has some rules, and they have them for good reason. I don't intend to scare the crap out of you, but mark my words, what I'm going to say now, it sounds somewhat lame, though you really don't want to make sure it's not true. Dude, are you messing with us?
Dean then leaned towards the man, displaying a big grin on his face. "Man, shut up. You're interrupting." I then put my palm on his shoulder to stop him.
So the thing is, you want to be home by 10, because 22 minutes later you might or might not hear a knock at your door. If you do, don't you dare open it. Don't you dare to ask who's there or something like that. Your only option is to say everybody's home already and reply. Just this and nothing else. Again, boys, I have no intention of fooling around or picking on you. Just trust me, it's for your own good.
Brad then said in a calm voice.
Nah, I'm not buying that, but okay. If I'm there and I hear a knock at my door and I don't reply, but just rush outside and beat the crap out of that mysterious visitor, could you credit me in your spooky story next time?
Dean just laughed, sipping from his glass occasionally.
Well, if you're so tough, why don't you check for yourself? Nobody's here to tell the tale after they've opened the door. The rumors say those brave ones just put on their shoes and vanished into the night. No one has ever seen them again. That's all.
Dude, you're fooling with us, right? That's some hard to believe crap, you know? Are you saying that you have seen a boogeyman knocking on doors here, or what?
I'm just serving drinks and sharing the stories here, mate. You're free to believe me or not. That's all.
The bartender just stared me in the eye. Okay, what happens next? Are you sure it's not just some lunatic pranking around?
Well, if you stay silent after the knocking, or if you're unable to come to the door, there will be an envelope. It'll be pushed under your door, through your mail hole, or left on your porch. By any means, don't open it and just burn it on sight.
He had continued, and I just started to notice that his facial expression changed. The man had looked dead serious.
So far, I saw 2 people read what was in the envelope. I've never seen those people again. But on the brighter side, if you get one, it's not the end of the world, see?
The man then pointed to the wall behind him where there was a framed envelope of pale blue paper hung on the wall under some thick glass.
But as you do, you would definitely want to be at home by the time to make sure you won't get the second one. I never did, and I hope I never will. People say that the third one is final, but don't quote me here. I've never met anyone around who would say that they got the third envelope and made it on their 2 before me to tell them about it. Point is, you don't want to check that either.
Me and Dean looked back at each other. His shoulders trembled with laughter.
Hey, cool story, man. Pretty good one. This booze hits hard. I'm all drowsy, alright. So I'll see you around, Brad, and have a good night. Tim, are you with me?
I finished my glass. Yeah, sure. Let's hit it. Thanks, Brad. See you next time. Talked about the store all the way back to our crib, discussing how probably our lovely bartender retells the story to every new face in town, and has his laugh with the locals later. It's 2022, not dark ages. Thus, we were back at our place, watching some crappy sitcom on the TV, as we had nothing better to do, to the point where I fell asleep on the couch.
Oh, dang it. Shut up already.
That was all I heard next, as Dean cursed at the alarm.
It's early.
Nothing happened that night. Even if someone knocked on our door, we were too deep into our slumber to hear it. And surprise, no envelope to be seen. We worked our 12-hour shift, breaking off just to grab some lunch, and got acquainted with some coworkers. Luckily for us, there were some pretty ladies too. And man, they were looking for some fun, if you know what I mean. So after taking a quick shower, putting on some cologne and fresh clothes, we picked up our new friends and went to get wasted. This time the bar was stocked, as if everybody had a rest yesterday before drinking themselves to death tonight. Brad greeted us with a nod as we walked in and pointed to the free table in the back. He was too busy with the eve with all his bar shenanigans. So are we, with our ladies, Jill, Sam, and Amy. Soon enough, probably due to the hard work in the field, gathering all those grapes and peaches, we got drunk. So drunk. I'm embarrassed to say I had a hard time walking straight. With God's help leaning on Jill's shoulders, I made it back to my room. But our rendezvous ended on that unromantic note, as she giggled, kissed me on the forehead, and promised to hang out the other day. I remember throwing up in the bathroom and falling asleep without even bothering to take off my clothes. Nothing happened that night. Dean managed to get a score with Amy. Thought he returned before 2200. as yet again 5 o'clock in the morning. It was our waking hour. The bartender's tale started to fade away. Besides being so exhausted physically and itself, made us wind up in our beds prior to 2200 every day. We worked through the day, had fun the evening with our so-called girlfriends, up to a Tuesday that followed. The day our truck broke down in the middle of a vineyard, and we had no other option than to carry those grape-filled baskets on our shoulders. Why? Because our payment depended on how many baskets we delivered per day, and the service truck would arrive only after shift hours. So that night, we were extremely exhausted. We grabbed frozen pizza and 6-packs on a local mart, and just called it a day. As the clock struck 2200, we were stuck on the couch, eating leftovers and finishing beers, watching some true crime documentaries. A sudden knock on the door interrupted our comfort, and I instinctively checked the clock. It was 22:22. Dean was in the bathroom at the moment, and I couldn't think of anything smarter than just staying silent. However, soon the flushing of the water signaled that he was done with his business. But before the bathroom door opened with a creak, I heard another sound. A rustle of paper, as if someone threw a cardboard sheet over the floor. Or an envelope. Dean walked out, saying something to me, until he noticed I was staring at the door.
Hey dude, what's with the face?
I think we got an envelope, Dean. I heard the sound. So my friend walked to the door, checked the surroundings, and then suddenly, he opened the door. He walked out, checked left and right, but before he came back in, he picked up the package. It indeed was an envelope, a pale blue color, just like the one that Brad had, hanging on the wall. Dean twisted it in his hands, said something about it not having any writing on the outside. But before I could say anything, he ripped it open. The next few minutes stretched into eternity, at least in my perception. I saw him taking out the folded sheet of paper, shredding it up, running through his eyes, left to right. All of a sudden, his face twisted into a grimace. The pupil of his eyes shrunk into 2 pinhead dots. Without saying a single word, Dean started to tear off the stripes from the letter and put them in his mouth, chewing. This whole make-or-be of scene took 30 seconds most, until he was done. Are you okay, bro? You're freaking me out, was all I could say. He didn't answer. He just picked up his jacket from the hanger, put it on, and walked out through the door, as it was barefooted and no pants. I had sat in silence for a moment, realizing what the hell just happened. It's not funny. Is this your way of making my life more interesting? I'm not buying that. I had said this while walking through the door, just to be sure that my friend wasn't just standing in the hallway, dying of silent laughter. Did you ask Amy to drop the envelope? Well, he didn't get me, not even close. But as I checked the hallway, he wasn't there. Fine. You may think you're funny as long as you like. I'm going to sleep, I concluded by slamming the door. I was pretty sure he had a pair of keys in the jacket. And if not, well, it was his problem. I slept like a baby. Next morning, I didn't even check on him. Male pride, or whatever. Call it what you want. But to my surprise, when I arrived at the farm, Dean wasn't there. I had confronted Amy, asking if she was into that prank of his, but she just stared back at me, having no idea whatsoever. Dean had some history of going all in when it came to something, whether to be getting a certain girl, obtaining some particular thing, or pulling a prank. So I didn't panic, as Amy could be a talented actress, and this whole thing could be a continuous joke of disappearing friend. He wasn't back at our place when I came back. Probably chilling with his girlfriend, laughing at me, I thought. believe it or not, I felt insecure at this point. So I had crashed Jill's place for the night. We had some good time and shared all the nonsense with her. She nodded and agreed with all the things I had about the prank, until once again, exhausted by the physical work, I shut down on the bed. Suddenly I opened my eyes. It was dark. Something woke me up. Right. The light sneaking through the door cap. I focused my vision to discover that Jill was standing by the front door, wearing nothing but her undies, as if waiting for something. A few moments later, she just hit the lights off and sneaked back into bed. I pretended I was still asleep. Was she part of the big Colosso trick set up by Dean? Or am I just paranoid? The next morning we woke up, had some breakfast, and went to work. No questions asked. I just didn't want to feel my incoming humiliation while all the cards would be played. Yet again, Dean didn't show up. Our supervisor had asked if he was okay, and I couldn't come back with anything smarter than, yeah, probably. You better ask his girlfriend. I had some bad vibes. I didn't want to talk to anyone, so I just went home straight after my shift was over. Later that night, as I had my night cravings for something sweet, and as I was standing by the fridge, munching some ice cream, you've guessed it, somebody knocked on my door. The microwave clock showed exactly 22:22. Then again, well, at least someone was having fun. I've decided to play along. I recalled the talk with the bartender in my memory. Everybody's home already, I had said with the most sturdy voice I could come up with. Then there was just a couple of moments of silence until...
Dude, it's me. Open up.
Dean said from behind the door. The prank failed, so who's laughing now? Or wait, did I imagine the whole thing? I thought as my hand reached for the door handle, a familiar motion. But I was heated up already, and wanted to spectacle the last bit longer. But dude, how do I know it's you? And there was no answer. Dean? When is my birthday? I played further, but there was still no answer. Man, drop it already. It's not even fun anymore. I had tried again, but no answer. Okay, if you're still on it, I remember you had the keys in your jacket, so why don't you just use them? I'm going to bed. I had summed it up. No answer, silence. Then multiple sudden hits on the door, just as if someone outside was punching it. It lasted longer for seconds, and stopped for a blink of an eye. What a jerk, I thought to myself as I hit the pillow. I'll cut to the point. He still didn't show up at the farm. I finished my work, and prepared for the next attempt at running his own joke. So as 22:22 came, and somebody knocked on my door, I was there, prepared. Prepared to ignore the attempt of my stubborn friend, to finish his stupid prank. I didn't reply, just stood there, silently. Next thing happened, the rustling of paper and a blue envelope appeared before my feet.
Oh, you better open it up, boy.
The bartender's voice proclaimed from behind the door. What? What in the actual... Okay, I'm done with this town. We're not in high school anymore, where it comes common to pick on people. And I hope that jerk would realize how stupid and pathetic his actions were, and prepares to perform with some proper excuse. The next time I see his dumb face. After that, I threw the letter to the trash bin without even opening it. So, yeah. I moved back to our old place the next day, without saying anything to anyone in town. I grabbed a couple of old college friends, went out for drinks. It was a good evening. By the end of it, I had almost forgot about the silly stuff that happened. Or was it just the alcohol that was in my veins? But I quickly got sober when I walked through the door of my own apartment, as a square pale blue paper was reading on the floor right before me. I checked the time. It was 12:37. I really doubt that the joke went that far, I didn't even tell anybody I was leaving. My God. Is Dean actually okay? What if all this is not a prank? Then what? Do I call the police and file a missing person? But what bothers me the most? Should I consider that this is the second or third envelope? Dean ate the first letter, so what should I do? A couple of days have passed since then. I'm always home before 2100 just to be extra sure. So far, nothing happened yet, but again, it was just a couple of days. I don't know what's worse. A bitter truth or a constant expectation of something morbid to happen. I'm feeling trapped. If nothing develops by the end of the week, I'm opening that letter. Life can't go on like this.